to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 128. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
but that's not going to happen. Instead, for the last couple of years, we've been traveling vicariously by inviting guests to share their unique travel stories with us.
It's been awesome, and our podcast has been all over the globe.
Now we're taking some time to revisit the Wish You Were Here segment of our show, where we each share travel attractions that we recommend.
Today, the Wish You Were Here's are from Slovenia.
Yay, Slovenia! Good thing I don't have a bias, right?
So you know what that means, Ryan.
Yeah, I do. They're all my Wish You Were Here's.
Yes, they are. You and I, of course, with, I don't know, anyone who listens to our podcast knows about our spreadsheets because we mention our spreadsheets.
We do.
I think we probably at this point are open for consulting when it comes to using the magic that is Google Drive for your podcast, you know?
Yes.
And we've been tracking everything. And so as we were organizing this Wish You Were Here's, we have like what it is and where it is and who did it. And it's just Ryan.
But don't worry, Cheryl, yours is coming.
Oh, I know. I'm not worried. But I think that also shows that Slovenia is a country that is still yet to be discovered by a lot of people.
I think so. Obviously, I keep plugging it on this podcast, but it's because it's an absolutely beautiful country. The people are amazing. And I think just kind of the big picture is it has the European feel. I mean, it is in Europe, but it feels like you're in a big European city without the big part, because it's not super crowded and there's not tons of tourists everywhere. And you really get a flavor of the culture and the architecture and the style without there being a bazillion people like there would be in a big major European city.
And you know what I'm excited about for this episode?
What?
3 of your Wish You Were Here's are restaurants. So we're going to be talking some food today as well.
That's true. There is some food. There is definitely some food because, I mean, there's good food in Slovenia. So,
yes. So
another
excited.
reason you need to go.
I really do. Well, hopefully this episode will give me a great plan for my trip to Slovenia.
I think so. And anyone else who's like, gee, I'm on the fence of whether or not to go to Slovenia, just keep listening and you will hear all the reasons you need to go to Slovenia.
All right, what's yours?
Interestingly enough, and I didn't know what yours was really before I picked mine. Mine is similar. It's not cookie dough, but it is food related. It's ice cream.
Always a good choice.
I'm a big fan of ice cream. And this is my favorite ice cream place in the world. And I actually mean literally in the world.
Okay.
And it is not in the United States. There are 3 locations. I've only been to one of them. The one that I've been to is in Ljubljana, which is the capital city of Slovenia. And there are 2 in Slovenia, and then there's 1 in Prague in the Czech Republic. And it's called Cacao.
Okay.
And they do more than just ice cream. They also do like fancy drinks and desserts. And I think I actually had breakfast there once, and it was like this yogurt parfait thing that was really good.
Yum.
But their ice cream is so good. It's so good. Like one of my favorites that's hard to say. Because they change out the flavors. They make the ice cream there, like on site. So it's not like it like gets shipped or whatever. Like they make it there, and so they have different flavors, different days and different times. And some of the ice cream is like super fancy. one of the, they're called, how do they call it? Forest fruits, I think is what they call it. And I've seen that in a couple of the different Central European countries. And that's like what they refer to, like what we would call like berries, like strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. Okay. They call those forest fruits.
Interesting.
And it's so good. But they also have a brownie one.
Oh, yeah. And
they have a lemon one. So they've got like the rich, deep ones, and they got like the light. It's so good. It's so goodness. Good.
Oh, I'm so hungry now.
It's so good. And now what I want to get some cookie dough from dough and then get some ice cream from cacao and put them together.
Yes. Oh, that sounds amazing. Oh, yeah.
Yes. So wish you were here. Wish I was there too.
Yeah.
And there are a lot. I mean, there's a number of other places that I've been that have some really good ice cream also. But I think that one's my favorite. I mean, because in Ljubljana, it's also on the, I'm going to say it wrong, Ljubljanica. It's the river that runs through Ljubljana. And so like, it's just like, you can sit like right there on the river. It's like a block from like the center of town with triple bridges, Prešeren Square that has like everything. It's just, it's the whole thing. The atmosphere, the food. It's wonderful.
How about you, Ryan?
So mine actually is somewhat similar to last week's guest. So Don Wilson last week shared about going to the Great Wall of China and taking the like sled thing down the Great Wall of China. Do you remember that, Cheryl?
Yeah, that I still don't believe that it's real, but yes, I do remember her video, telling us. Okay. CGI is pretty impressive these days. That's all I want to say.
So mine is not quite the same thing. It's not in China, and there's no Great Wall. But it is downhill, so I guess that's related. And this is in Slovenia. So I've talked about Slovenia before, and I will probably be talking about it again. There is a city in the kind of northwestern-ish portion of the country called Bled. And there's an amazingly beautiful lake there and an island in the middle of the lake. I think I've mentioned this before. Have I mentioned this before?
Yeah, Ryan, I think you've told me about it, like, as we've talked about your travels there. I don't think on this podcast you've mentioned it before, though.
Okay. So anyway, it's a beautiful town that has this kind of big lake. There's no, like, electrical motored boats allowed on the lake. There's an island in the middle. It's gorgeous. And in the wintertime, they do a lot of like skiing and stuff up there because it'll be like snowy and sometimes the whole lake will freeze over and things like that. But in the summer, when I've been there, they do what I know quite a few places will do. They take one of their ski hills and they change it into what they call a toboggan. And so you take the chairlift up, and then there's this single metal track that runs down and it kind of curves from the top all the way down to the bottom of the chairlift. And so you get up to the top, and first of all, there's a beautiful panoramic view of the lake with the island and the town and all that stuff that's just gorgeous. So that's just the view itself is great. But then there's these little yellow, I don't really know how to describe them. They're plastic single person toboggans, I guess, but they're like kind of like little pods.
I'm looking at pictures right now. I just Google image Lake Bled Slovenia Toboggan.
Yeah.
And it looks like a full-grown adult is sitting in a child's little plastic play car where they use their feet.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah, and they're yellow. They're like bright yellow. And so you sit there, and there's only enough room for one person, and it sits on top of this track. And so the track runs down the middle of the little pod thing. And so it's got like wheels underneath that kind of clamp onto the side. And then there's it's like a joystick kind of, but it's like a handle that you can push forward or pull towards you. And it's all gravity controlled, and that's a brake. And this was the thing for me that's wonderful. I do not like roller coasters because I don't like the feeling of when you drop Like I don't like
Yep.
that feeling.
Yep.
And that's what most people love about roller coasters. And I actually do not like that feeling. So what's cool about this is you can get going. And I was looking on their website. Top speed is about 25 miles per hour. So you can get cruising pretty fast, especially since you're not in a car. It's just like you like cruising down and there's all these turns. But if you feel like you're going too fast, you can brake and you can slow yourself down. So you're in complete control and it's super fun. So like you're going down and you can whip around these corners and going real fast. And I don't know, it's just really, really fun. So, and they call it, what is it? I looked it up. They call it, Straža. I mean, and I don't know if that's the actual event or if it's like the whole thing. Because there's like a high ropes course up there at the top and a whole bunch of other things as well.
Nice.
But yeah, it's super fun. So that would be my wish you were here.
Ryan.
Yeah, so I'm going to go across the pond to a place that I've done quite a few of these wish you were here's in before, and I will probably do more. So we're going to go back to Slovenia.
All right.
One of the places that I've mentioned before is the town of Bled. And a place that is near Bled is called Vintgar, Vintgar. And it's a hike, maybe a little bit more extreme term, because it's not really a hike, but it's a walk, I guess, through this gorge that a river has cut through. And it, like, seriously, it is so gorgeous. And the river's still there. And it's this really deep, like, greenish, but really clear colored water, which is beautiful in the first place. Yeah. And then you're down, not like on the water level, but very close to the water. So you've got the rocks and there's all sorts of just, like, if you're a science guy like me, like there's lots of like striations, you can see like layers, and there's uplift where things are like turned funky.
Vintgar Gorge?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at pictures.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, and I've got
OMG.
Whoa.
That's really pretty.
Oh
That's
yeah,
not
and
what
so
I was picturing.
so it's like, and so you're walking on these like wood kind of like plank, like elevated path things. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and it is seriously as beautiful as those pictures that you're seeing.
Look fake.
You know what I mean? Like,
and
I've got
water looks so fake.
If I can do this without, so like here are my pictures that I took when I was there. I mean, like seriously, it's
gracious.
And I'll post some of these on our Instagram.
That
but like
is so pretty.
It is gorgeous.
It's like Yellowstone colors of water.
Sure.
You know,
I haven't been to Yellowstone.
Okay,
so.
but like you're like water
Oh my
isn't
God, look at
normally
this.
that color.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's just
so
beautiful, and it's
Or like
warm.
Jurassic Park looking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely
it
does.
does.
And you kind of like do hike up a little bit, and you get like to a waterfall, and you can look down over the waterfall and hike down to the waterfall. Like, and
like
it's
this waterfall?
or
Or are there like several?
no,
on
there's like a
this?
huge waterfall.
There's a huge one?
Yeah,
Wow.
that I think I have a picture of here somewhere.
Yeah, you had one right there.
Like this?
That's the same one.
Is that?
So that's one, but there's like, whoops.
He's like that.
Oh, look at that bridge.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that bridge in another picture that I was looking at.
So anyway, it's just
Wow.
it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. I'm usually there in the summer, and it's usually quite warm. So to like go there, and you're by the water, and you're kind of shaded a little bit because you're in this
nice
canyon gorge.
So if you're not like an outdoor enthusiast and you don't hike, would you consider that to be a tough hike, or would
No. Not at all. Because
like super easy?
Cheryl, no, when one of our earlier episodes of the podcast, we talked about a hike that Cheryl and I went on this last summer. And I enjoy being outdoors as long as I'm not uncomfortable.
Makes sense.
So that's not really a true outdoors person. But I really do like seeing things that are beautiful outdoors.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for water. Outdoors, not being in the water, but like beautiful water things. Like lakes, mountains, snow, like that sort of stuff. Waterfalls, I love waterfalls.
Waterfalls are so
love
cool.
I will put forth effort and be a little bit more uncomfortable if there's a cool waterfall at the end.
Okay, makes
Right?
sense.
And so,
But this is like an easy, like all.
it's not even like that's why I said,
activity level.
yeah, it's like not even. It's hike is
generous.
yeah. It's not. It's more of a walk than a hike. Like there is some like uphill, but for the most part, you're down on the river level, and it's
really
that
cool.
like the wood plank
Yeah.
elevated stuff. It's not
so
really
cool.
much of a hike.
So when are you going to take me?
Well, I wish you were here.
All right.
So, yeah. So there you go.
Super cool. I like that.
Top that, Ryan.
Yeah, come on, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't think I can top that.
Okay. Fine.
Although I will say mine is pretty cool. I will say. So mine is in Slovenia. As people who've been listening to the show know that I've been there quite a few times and I love almost everything about the country. It's not the only country that I love, but there are many things about it that are pretty awesome. So not all the way north to the Austrian border, but a good portion of the way up north is a town called Bled. It's spelled Bled, and no matter how I say it, someone always tells me I'm saying it wrong. And I've heard different people say it different ways. So I apologize. I'm sure I just said it wrong. But it is, you may have seen pictures of it before because it's very picturesque. There's a beautiful, beautiful lake. And there's a little tiny island in the middle that has like a little church on it. And there are no motorboats allowed. So the only boats that are allowed are handmade wood boats that are rowed with oars, but they're not oars like you're thinking, like with a rowboat. So there's I don't know what the name is, but like the rower stands at the back of the boat and holds the two oars and does this like forward motion, the twisting to like make them to move the boat forward. Anyway, so I was up there a few years ago and I have a friend who lives up there, and his dad and his family is one of the families that makes and operates the boats. And it was just the timing when I was there. It was I don't remember what the actual year was, but the anniversary of the founding of the town, Bled. And it was, I don't know, 1,000 some odd years. I don't remember what it was, but it was a long time. And I'm not exaggerating when I say 1,000. It's like, it's old. And there's this castle that's up above it. And so they had these really cool, like laser projections on it in the evening. But the best thing was they take eggshells, or they take eggs and they break them open and they take the shells kind of like in halves. And then they put candles inside the shells and they light them and then they put them and float them on the water of the lake. And so it's all of these just little tiny floating lights, like thousands of them on the lake. And it doesn't fill the whole lake. But the part closest to the shore where they let them go, it's beautiful. And and again, my friend was awesome. So he took me and a few other friends out on one of the boats. So most people are out like on the shore, but we actually got to be out in the lake with all of the lights all around at night. And it was gorgeous. It was so beautiful. It felt like I was in a movie.
Like Tangled?
Kind of like, have you guys seen Tangled?
Yes.
Yeah.
And at last I see the
Yes.
light.
It was a little different because in Tangled, they're like floating lanterns, so they're flying in the air. And so these ones are on the surface of the water. But it's a similar feel. And so we were just out there just kind of floating around and just enjoying the beauty. And then they did a fireworks show. And so
oh my goodness,
there's fireworks up above and there's like candlelight on the water below you. And it was amazing. It was so cool.
Wow.
My friend was so awesome to be able to let me like do that. And then he was super cool too, because by then I was just like, well, I was just going to like drive home. I rented a car and he's like, why don't you just stay with me for the night? So I stayed at his place for the night. It was super cool. But I think they do something like it every year on the anniversary. And I did some looking online to see, and I couldn't find anything, but the day that I did it was July 18th. So if you happen to be in Central Europe around July 18th and can make it to Bled, that it could be able to have a really cool, just beautiful like celebration of their town.
Wow, that is so cool.
What's your wish you were here, Ryan?
Okay, so my wish you were here, Cheryl. You'll be proud of me. Well, at least initially you will, and then you probably won't be. So because it's another food site.
I'm so proud of you.
I know, but you won't be in a minute.
Oh, man.
So this is actually a fast food restaurant.
Okay.
Restaurant. I use that term loosely because it's fast food in Slovenia. Like I said, I've been there a number of times. And so there's more than one location. I've been to 2 or 3 of them in Ljubljana, the capital city. And it's called Hot Horse.
Is it horse?
Sounds amazing.
Yeah. It isn't a horse, but they
Okay.
serve horse.
Okay.
boy.
I've never
It's
had
where you can get a
before.
horse burger.
I want to
Yeah.
try that. Is it good?
Yeah, actually, it's, it tastes kind of like sausage.
Okay.
Whoa.
Has a
Okay.
kind of a sausage
That sounds
flavor
good.
to it. Yeah, and so you can get like an actual like burger, and it's kind of cool because there's about 1 million different things that you can put on the burgers, and you go up and you order it kind of like a Subway or a Jimmy John's where you tell them what you want on the burgers, sort of a thing. But there's a lot of different options, and then they make it, or you could. If you wanted, and this is actually my preference because I've had the burgers and they're huge, by the way. They're huge.
Oh, man.
I actually prefer to get a yufka, which is more like think of it like a tortilla wrap.
Ooh.
And sort of instead of burger, like it's, I don't remember if it's like pulled or if it's like in like more like ground beef. I don't remember. It's been a while now. But I will be back in Slovenia again this summer, so maybe I'll just go double check
Nice.
and
Like
Yep.
you do.
update you all.
Yeah.
You better.
But it's definitely something that you don't get to do in the United States for sure. And I've never seen that. I've never seen horse on the menu anywhere else. So it's definitely a unique experience. And if you want to, experience a little bit of the culture, that's definitely a way to do that.
I'm still proud
Hot
of you.
horse.
I'm always up for trying a new animal, so that's okay.
Okay, good. Some of our listeners may be a little yelling at me right now, but
Beth.
hey, guess what? I can't hear you, so I don't care.
That's what you want to say to our loyal listener.
That's right.
She's right in front
Well-
of you,
One.
actually. So.
That's fine.
Well, she's not yelling at me though.
That's true.
There you go. Then it's not and it's called Hot Horse in English.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right.
So
Yeah,
funny.
there are a fair amount of things in Slovenia that are in English, and actually in German and in a bunch of other languages because Slovenia is about 2 million people, and that's the only place in the world where they speak Slovene.
Oh boy.
Right, like
Yeah.
you don't run into that language anywhere else for the most part. So they are multilingual
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and a lot of their signage and things will oftentimes be in multiple languages as well.
It seems like everywhere but the United States that's the case. So
Yeah. Well, we're starting to have more Spanish places.
that's true.
In northern parts of Maine and New Hampshire, stop signs will have, and I'll say it wrong, but it's like arrête or
Oh yeah, in
in
French.
In French. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's Montreal in Quebec are right up
Oh
above
yeah,
us,
that
so
makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Those Frenchies. And you'll start seeing kilometers below miles in markers.
Oh,
too, so,
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
Gotcha.
that's awesome.
So we
Metric system.
Yeah, dude. We need to bring that
Yeah.
back.
Oh, I'm all over that metric system.
It's
Yeah,
so
for
much
sure.
better. It makes way more sense.
Yep. Sign me up. I'm game. Let's do it.
Yes. Okay. You and me, we got this.
Yep. Just the two of us. We can make it happen. No problem.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryan?
So I am going to do my wish you were here about a place that I've talked about already several times and actually had a few wish you were here's about, but I haven't talked about this particular activity, I don't believe. And so the city is Bled in Slovenia. It's in northern Slovenia. I've talked about this. This was the place that I talked about where we went out on those boats at night and they had all the candles in the water and we were like out boating on the candles at night and it was kind of like in Tangled. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yep.
At last I see the light. Yep.
That's the one.
That place.
And I also talked about there was the toboggan kind of sled hill thing that you could go down, right? That's overlooking the lake in Bled. So it's all the same place. So one of the things that you can do is, again, there's these handmade boats, rowboats, because there's no motor vehicles allowed on the lake. It's not a huge lake, but it's not a tiny lake either. And there's a little island, not quite in the middle. It's kind of off-center, but it's more or less in the middle of the lake. And you can take one of these boats out to the island, and there is a church on the island, not a very big church. And the island itself is not super big, but you can go out to this island, and then there's these steps, and I don't remember exactly how many steps there are. There's like 117 steps or something like that. And a sort of a cultural, I don't think myth is the right word, maybe tradition is the right word or something, but is that married couples, one of the individuals is supposed to carry the other up all of these steps from the water level up to the top where the church is, some 100-odd steps. And I think it symbolizes that, a long and happy marriage or something like that.
I think it symbolizes leg muscles.
I think it also symbolizes leg muscles and a little bit of trying to show that you're macho.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty funny to watch people do it, and I've never tried to carry someone because no thank you. But it's really, really, it's a beautiful island because now you're in the middle and you're looking out. You get to go on this boat, which is incredibly cool because, and I think, again, I mentioned this before, but I guess technically it's a rowboat. They're very, very big. They can fit, 15, 20 people in them. But the what would you call it? It's not a pilot. The person driving the boat? I don't know how you would say that.
Boat driver.
Yeah, but it's not a motorboat. I don't know. Oh, the person who is making the boat go, paddler maybe, stands in the back of the boat, and they stand up. And then they have the two oars, which are very, very long, because, again, they're standing. And they have this interesting motion that they do where they do it's all with their arms, and they move forward and do a twist to actually get it to move. And they do these twists with their wrists and their arms. And it's a very, very unique sort of motion that they do. And they can navigate these things and have them spin and line up exactly right to avoid each other and to go straight up to the dock. And so even just that is a cool experience. But then being out on the church, and you can kind of walk around on the islands. You can go up in the church. I don't know if I've ever actually been in the church. I don't remember. It's not, an amazingly decorated church or anything like that, but it's cool. You can pay a few euro and ring the bell if you want to. But you can kind of go up, and there's a few paths that you can kind of walk around. It's not like a major thing, but you can go down to the beach, sort of beach, waterfront, and go swimming if you want to. One year that we were there, we got out to the island, and then there was this freak thunderstorm.
Whoa.
And not just like, oh, look, it's a thunderstorm. I'm talking the heaviest rain I have ever been in my life, and there was a literal waterfall flowing down the kind of cobblestone that there was. I took a video of it with my phone because it was
like a flash
unbelievable. Flood. Yeah. But it's raining obviously everywhere, but just on this little island, and the water just didn't have anywhere to go. And we were all drenched. We were just drenched, but it's in the middle of the summer, so it wasn't cold.
Ha! That's cool.
It wasn't exactly warm at that point when you're drenched, and then everyone is like huddling in the gift shop and the little restaurant that's there because that's the only real place to be that isn't outside.
Oh my goodness.
It was a really cool experience, but it doesn't do that every time. But it's a really cool island. It's cool to be on the boat and to be able to go out on the water. The water is this beautiful bluish green color. If you've ever been to like Crater Lake or some of those places, it's a very similar type of water color to that. So it's just beautiful and serene and an awesome experience that I would highly recommend.
I love it. That's awesome.
Too. That's why I shared it.
How about you, Ryan?
So I've got one that's back out in Slovenia again because I love Slovenia. And that was the other place that I was thinking about, like, if you've never been, I might recommend Slovenia because it is
up there
Beautiful.
for me.
Oh,
Honestly, it was
I
because
love
of an
Slovenia.
episode of Chef's Table that I saw, but it looks awesome.
Slovenia is amazing. I've been many, many times. I have lots of friends that live over there.
Oh, cool.
I've not been to the entire country yet. There's still plenty of places that I would like to go, but there are some really, really cool places. One of the things that Slovenia has is it has quite a few underground caves. And there's one that's like really famous, and it's the one that gets advertised in Ljubljana, and that is the most touristy. And I've never been to that one, so I'm not going to talk about that one. I'm going to talk about the one that I have been to, and I'm going to not say it completely correctly, but this will be my best attempt at pronouncing Slovene. So I apologize to any of my Slovene friends who might be listening to this who know that I'm going to say it wrong. But it's Škocjan. So it's S with a hat on it, which is the sh sound, K-O-C, which they say is ts, and then J-A-N, and the J is the Y sound. So
Whoa.
anyway, so it's not the way you would expect to pronounce it if you were just pronouncing it in English. But anyway, the cave's there, and it's super, super cool. So you do a tour, and some of the stuff they have like lights, and it's lit, and you can see, the different kind of formations underground. At one point, you're in this just huge, just open cavern, and you're like looking above you, and you realize that the ceiling above you is actually like the bottom of the ground if you were up on the surface of the earth, which is just cool. And then, like there's like the stalactites and the stalagmite formations. And then you like wander out into this area that like totally opens up, and there's this river that's running. It's an underground river that runs through it. And they have a mark at one point on the wall of this one time, and maybe this was multiple times, but I remember just the story that our guide told us was this one time where there was just a massive amount of water. I don't know if it was, a lot of flooding or what the thing was, but this massive amount of water, and how high that river went in the cave. And it's like hundreds of feet above where the river level actually is at that time. And it's just crazy to think of that much additional water in there. But it's beautiful. It's nice because it's cool because it's underground. And it's just a really, really fun, I wouldn't describe it as a hike, because most of the pathways, I don't know if they're paved, but they're very, very clear, and they're delineated, and you go along with a guide or whatever. So it's not really a hike, but it's definitely walking for a fair amount, which I enjoy. And there's some really cool, just kind of geologic features to see. So
Sounds awesome.
that would be mine that I would recommend.
Let's go to Slovenia.
Okay.
And if you guys decide to go to Slovenia, let me know. I got plenty of other things to
Yeah,
tell you about.
definitely.
Ryan, what's yours?
So I'm going to talk about a place in Slovenia. It's been a while since I've talked about Slovenia.
That's true.
So the city that I'm going to talk about specifically is a little town called Piran, and it's most of Slovenia is landlocked. Most of it is kind of surrounded by other countries, but a really small strip is on the Mediterranean Sea, specifically the Adriatic Sea. And so there's a few little towns down there, and this one is Piran. It's kind of on a little tiny peninsula that just kind of juts out there. And from there you can see Italy and Croatia and back a little bit other parts of Slovenia. But it's really, really beautiful. It's got kind of a Mediterranean style with, red roofs, and you can walk along the beach and go in the Mediterranean. And it's just a really, really fun, cool town to go and visit. There's a cool sort of tower. I don't think it's a bell tower or something that you can climb up in and then kind of walk around at the top and get a really good view, because it's kind of up on a hill, looking down on the town and seeing all the roofs. And there's a really, really beautiful town square, like a lot of European towns have, that's just really, really beautiful. And they have these really cool windows, which I know kind of sounds weird, but it's a really, really great place. There aren't a lot of tourists that go there. There are some, but it's a lot less known and touristed.
Fun.
Yeah.
I gotta say, some of those ones no one knows about are the best, because then you don't have like the tourist aspect of travel, which is so nice when no one's trying to sell you a selfie stick or things like that.
Yeah, so they have like a big giant parking lot, and because you can't actually take cars in unless you live there. And so you have to park in this parking lot and take these buses or these trams into the city and just walk.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There are some tourists that are there, obviously, but they tend to be more the European tourists, not so much the, American tourists that are kind of going everywhere. So that's Piran.
I mean, now that you plugged it on our podcast, it's going to be changing pretty dramatically. So thanks a lot, Ryan. Ryan, tell us about, obviously, the restaurant that you're going to talk about. Just seafood.
Actually, I am going to talk to you about a restaurant.
Oh,
Yay! I am. I was planning because I didn't figure it out several episodes ago in time, but I realized that we had talked about a particular food when Alex Bell was on the podcast. And I realized that, hey, I know of a really good restaurant that I go to all the time not all the time when I'm in Slovenia, to have cevapcici. So I don't know if you remember us talking about that, Cheryl.
I mean, yes, because you were talking about food, so I do remember that.
Good point. Yeah. So you remember that.
Yeah.
And for those of you who maybe don't remember, I think we talked about that in episode 106 with Alex and his Dalmatian vacation. So you could always go back and hear the descriptions. But basically, in Ljubljana, the capital city of Slovenia, there is a restaurant just off from the main kind of downtown area called Sarajevo. And you have to like walk down these stairs, and it's like underground. So there's no windows to the outside, but the inside is super cool. And the way it's decorated, it's got all of this brick and different signs that have different sayings in, I think it's Bosnian, but it might be Serbian. I'm not sure. And it's not a super big place. None of the times that I've been there has it been super, super crowded. But they do really good cevapcici there. So you can get your Ivar and your kajmak and your cevapcici, and you're set to go. Or you can get kokta too, if you wanted to. So there you go.
I wish I knew what any of those were.
It still makes me hungry, even though I don't know all of the words. I'm still so on board.
I relate to that. that.
So kajmak is a cheese that you put on a cevapcici, but it looks and behaves kind of like butter. Like it's really, really soft. It's kind of a light yellow color. So it looks a lot like butter. And then Ivar is like a red tomato sauce sort of based thing. I'm again, as a non-foodie, I'm sure that I'm not describing all of the right things to you both, and I apologize, but
no, it still sounds
you're
delicious.
saying the names of food. You're saying food words, so
I am saying food words.
But
so now I'm
Coke
hungry.
thing?
We just talked about all these restaurants, and now I had dinner already. I want to go eat again.
Yeah, me too.
Kokta is and I don't know if it's specifically Slovenian or if it's just kind of Balkan, but it's their version of Coca-Cola.
Oh, fun.
It's not Coca-Cola, but it's similar to that. It just has like a unique, it's a little bit different flavor, but yeah, kind of like a soda pop. But it's good, and the only place I've ever seen it is when I'm in Slovenia. So I'm like, when I'm there, I'm gonna get some. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
food.
There you go. Are you happy? I did food.
I
did a
am
restaurant.
happy. That's
I thought you might be.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. We would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at Timwy Podcast. That's at TMWY for Take Me With You Podcast. We are on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter.
You can also email us at timwypodcast@gmail.com. Tell us, what are your wish you were here's for this location?
We would love to hear that. You can also call us and leave us a voicemail at 406-763-8699. Or if it's easier to remember, 406-POD-TIMWY. We would love it if you would rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and share about this episode on your social media.
As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the awesome artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
That's all we have for this episode. So until next time, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you!
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above.